Hi, I'm Steve Lapointevin. I've been writing for International Living for about 6 or 7 years now. My wife and I lived in Thailand for 3 years in Chiang Mai. We've been in Peru for the last 4 years. We lived in Arequipa the first year we moved here, and then 3 years ago we moved up to the north coast and now live in the small town of Huanchaco, which is close to Trujillo, a much larger city with all the amenities of a large metropolitan area. Anyway, over the next 2 or 3 minutes, I'm just going to quickly walk through basic expenses for an average person living in Peru. So, as an example, I'm coming to you from the top of our building, our apartment building. We live in a small studio apartment on the rooftop, which includes this large terrace I'm standing on. You may be able to see the water in the distance. The ocean is in the distance. Around the corner we have a nice view of mountains, which you can't see. And for this apartment we pay about $340 US, $340, $350 US. It's all furnished, it came furnished, and that also includes all the utilities. Now, if we rented a larger place, we rented larger apartments in the same building and also in Arequipa, you're probably, outside of Lima, you're looking at probably $500 to $600 a month, maybe $700 a month for a 2 or 3 bedroom modern furnished apartment. So that's our rent. Now, apart from rent, the other 2 necessities you're going to need anywhere. Drinking water, you can't drink out of the tap, so we have drinking water delivered to us in 20-liter bottles. Those cost us about $3 or $4 each, and they're just delivered to the door as we need them. Natural gas, again, delivered to the door, comes in small tanks, same kind of thing as you have for your barbecue, and those cost us about $10 or $12 for a bottle, but that lasts a long time. Now, food, all around the country, like most of these countries, there are lots of outdoor markets. Food in the markets, fresh fruit, fresh veggies, very cheap. I mean, I never spend more than probably not even $4 or $5 when I go to the market, and that's enough to last me, 3 days. But in general, I would say we probably buy 80% of our stuff just at the local market. So there's your food. Now, if we go out to eat, we were cooking most of our own food, but more recently we've been going out to eat. We can go around the corner to a local restaurant, and for the 2 of us, for a really nice salad or another type, there's usually 2 or 3 first courses. We can order a choice of 2 or 3 first courses, salad or some kind of there's a potato entree you can have that's more of a traditional Peruvian thing, plus a really good second course, which will be a good meat, vegetables, and so on. That's going to cost us about $5 or $6 US for that, for the 2 of us. So we decided, hey, it's not really worth cooking. We can go out to eat as much as cooking at home. So we're slanting more towards going out right now than cooking at home. We've never spent more than, for the 2 of us, we've rarely spent more than $30 going out to eat. So you can see it's quite cheap. Transportation, very few expats have cars, but if you do have a car, it's quite inexpensive to operate. So I'm not going to go into that in detail, but in terms of other transportation, buses are cheap, taxis are cheap. We have these little buses called colectivos. They go back and forth and go between small towns, but the taxis here, we have never spent more than $5 or $6 for a taxi. That will take you that'll take you as far as you want to go in terms of around the city. The bus from here to Trujillo, which is about 15 minutes, costs us less than $1. The colectivo, same idea, less than $1. So it's very cheap to get around. Just to give you an idea, we took a trip to a small town that was 3 or 4 hours away from here. 3 or 4 of us rented a driver, got a driver basically, and for that 4-hour trip, one way, cost us $50, $40 or $50 for a 4-hour drive. That gives you an idea of how cheap it is to get around here. The one thing that will possibly jack up your monthly expenses is healthcare. But you have a few options here. I'm going to go into more details in a later video, but you have the option between public healthcare system, the private healthcare system, and the international healthcare system, and they're all in order of increasing expense. The public healthcare system, pretty inadequately funded, not so good, mainly because of the long waiting times. You're going to pay less than $100 a month for that. A lot of the hospital or clinics have their own private networks, private healthcare networks, and again, those are going to be anywhere from less than $100 to $300 or $400 a month, depending on how old you are. And finally, the international systems are going to be significantly, probably more expensive, because they will be more expensive because you're being covered in countries, all around the world, usually except for the States. So that's something that each person has to look at individually and determine what's best for them. But you can probably count on adding $300 or $400 a month to your monthly expenses for healthcare. Now, it's very difficult to get it if you're over 65, so that's something else you have to take into consideration. Your choices become more limited, and it becomes a little more expensive. So I think that pretty much covers everything. Actually, I missed a couple of things. TV stations. Most furnished apartments, like the one we have and the ones I talked about earlier, will come with your basic, internet and TV. But if those that want something more and want lots of English stations, you can purchase, I think the big one now is DirecTV, and that's going to give you hundreds of channels, English channels, all the same stuff you get in North America, the sports stations, HTV stations, HBO, so on and so forth. Now again, they have many packages similar to the States and Canada, so you can start at $30 or $40, and then the sky's the limit, depending on what kind of package you want. Internet's the same thing. Most places come with internet, but if you want a faster internet, a better internet than what you have in your apartment, then again you can order. And again, the sky's the limit. You can get pay $20 a month. You can pay $100 a month. It all depends on what you're looking for. But it is here. The services are here. The high speed is here if you're willing to pay for it. So I think that's about it for expenses in the country. As far as overall expenses, they would be pretty similar from one city to the next and one small town to the next, as I mentioned earlier. But Lima is certainly going to be the most expensive place to live, especially in the better areas like Miraflores, which is the more popular expat tourist kind of area. If you need more information on this stuff, you can click the link below, which will take you to a more detailed picture.